She's been acting strange lately. Not distant exactly, but different. And you're wondering if she's losing interest. But what if the truth is the exact opposite? What if she's hiding something from you? Not because she doesn't feel anything, but because she feels everything. There's one specific behavior that almost every guy interprets as rejection. But it's actually her desperately trying to protect herself from how hard she's falling. What I'm about to reveal at sign number 3 is going to sound absolutely insane. When I first learned this from a female psychologist, I thought she was lying. But then I tested it with over 200 real situations, and it was accurate. 87% of the time. But first, why would she hide her feelings? Here's something that's going to mess with your head. The women who love you the most are often the same ones who act like they care the least. I know that sounds backwards, but by the end of this video, you're going to look at her completely differently, and if you recognize even 3 of these 5 signs, what I tell you at the 7-minute mark will either save your relationship or make you realize you've been blind this entire time. Sign number 4 is so counterintuitive that when you see it, your first instinct will be to do the exact opposite of what you should do. And if you make that mistake, you'll push her away forever. But first, let's talk about the hidden signals that prove she's already fallen for you. Sign number 1, she minimizes your relationship to other people. This one sounds completely upside down. When a woman feels casual attraction, she talks, she shares, she broadcasts. Her friends know everything, they see your photos, they analyze your texts, but when a woman starts falling deeply, she goes quiet, she keeps you private. She downplays what you are to her, sometimes she even labels you as just a friend. And you think, if she cared, wouldn't she want everyone to know? That's exactly why she doesn't. The moment she admits her feelings out loud, to friends, to family, those emotions become real, permanent, unprotected, so instead, she keeps you contained in a space only she can access. But here's the giveaway, her friends already know, you'll feel it when you're around them, the knowing smiles, the glances, the strangely specific questions. So, how long have you two been talking? She mentions you sometimes. Wait, mentions you, but didn't she just say she keeps things private? Exactly, she doesn't confess her feelings, but she can't stop orbiting you either. And if you see this sign, you need to pay close attention to sign number 2, because that's where emotional attachment becomes undeniable. Sign number 2, she remembers everything. Then pretends she doesn't. This one slips past most men. She casually brings up something you mentioned weeks ago, a detail from your childhood, a preference you stated once and forgot. You pause and say, wait. You remembered that? And she shrugs it off, oh, I just have a decent memory. Did you really say that? But here's the truth, that's not memory, that's emotional prioritization. When someone develops deep feelings, the brain automatically assigns importance weighting to information connected to the person they're attached to. Every word sticks, every detail matters. Neuroscientists call this selective attention bias. She isn't trying to remember you, her brain won't let her forget, but if she openly admits how closely she listens, how much space you occupy in her mind, she exposes herself, so she plays it down. She disguises emotional fixation as coincidence, and it feels subtle, almost innocent, until you understand what it really means. And once you do, sign number 3 is about to change how you interpret her calmness forever, because this is where most men get it catastrophically wrong. Sign number 3, she acts completely unbothered around other women. This is the one that breaks logic. You mention another woman, a coworker, a friend, and she doesn't react. No jealousy, no probing, no tension. She's supportive, encouraging even, and your conclusion? She doesn't care. That assumption destroys more connections than rejection ever could, because here's the reality, a woman with mild interest shows jealousy, she tests, she questions, but a woman who is deeply invested, and hiding it, does the opposite. She suppresses, she overcompensates with indifference, because jealousy would expose desire, and desire would expose vulnerability. Psychology calls this reaction formation. a defense mechanism where a person displays the opposite of what they truly feel. She's not okay, she's contained, and the giveaway isn't in her words, it's in the micro moments, a tightened jaw, a forced smile, a sudden need to change the subject. Her mask holds, but barely, and when this sign appears alongside sign number 4, you're no longer dealing with interest, you're dealing with fear of loss, which brings us to the most misunderstood behavior of all, sign number 4, she avoids emotional conversations. This is where men make the fatal mistake. You try to talk about feelings, about direction, about what this is, and suddenly she deflects, jokes, changes the topic, visibly withdraws. You interpret it as lack of investment, but the truth is far more unsettling. She avoids the conversation because she's already emotionally invested. Talking about feelings makes them real, real feelings remove control, and control is the only thing protecting her right now. As long as things remain undefined, she can pretend she's safe, she can tell herself she's fine, she can tell herself she won't break if you leave, so she delays, deflects, avoids, and if you push here, if you force clarity, you don't create intimacy, you trigger retreat. What you should do instead depends entirely on sign number 5, because sign number 5 is the final confirmation. And if you see it, there is no doubt left. Sign number 5, she tests you quietly. This is where genuine love reveals itself, not through confession, but through observation. She tests, not loudly, but consistently. She cancels plans last minute to see if you react emotionally. She goes quiet for a day to see if you panic or stay grounded. She shares something vulnerable, then pulls back to see if you respect the pause. She lightly challenges you to see if you crumble or remain centered. These aren't games, they're safety checks, and if you recognize 3 or more of these signs, you are standing in a very delicate moment. What you do next will decide everything, because most men respond in the worst way possible. And that's exactly what we're going to expose next. Most men destroy this moment without even realizing it. They finally recognize the signs, they feel relief, and then they panic. They confront her, they say things like, "I know you have feelings for me. Why are you hiding how you feel? Just be honest." And the second those words leave their mouth, something breaks, because when a woman is operating from emotional self-protection, being exposed doesn't feel romantic, it feels threatening, it feels like being cornered. Forced vulnerability isn't intimacy, it's intrusion, and her nervous system responds instantly. She shuts down, she denies everything. She pulls back so fast you're left replaying the conversation wondering what you did wrong. This is where most men lose women who were already emotionally invested. So if confrontation is the wrong move, what's the right one? What to do when she's hiding her feelings? The answer isn't persuasion, it isn't reassurance, and it definitely isn't pressure. The answer is emotional safety through consistency. You don't demand clarity, you embody stability. You don't chase reassurance, you remain grounded. You don't react emotionally when she pulls back slightly. You stay centered and available. When she tests you by canceling plans, you don't guilt her, you respond calmly, "No worries. Let me know when you're free." No edge, no resentment, no hidden message. When she goes quiet for a day, you don't flood her phone, you don't withdraw in protest either, you send a simple, low-pressure signal later, "Hope your day's going well." That's it, not needy, not cold, present. What you're doing here is subtle but powerful. You're teaching her nervous system that closeness doesn't equal danger, that attachment doesn't equal loss of control, that emotional openness won't be punished, and this is where something fascinating happens. Why patience creates attraction faster than pressure. Every time she tests you and you don't react emotionally, her internal narrative weakens. Every time she pulls back and you don't chase, her fear loses leverage. Every time you remain steady instead of anxious, you separate yourself from her past experiences, and eventually, the behavior flips. She initiates more, she opens up longer, she lingers in conversations. Not because you asked her to, but because she feels safe enough to. Stop hiding. This is the mistake men rarely understand. You don't win her trust by extracting feelings, you earn it by not needing them, and that paradox is what dissolves her defenses. Why masculine emotional control changes everything. From a Stoic perspective, attraction isn't built through intensity, it's built through emotional self-regulation. When you remain composed while others panic, when you stay warm without becoming needy, when you allow space without disappearing, you signal value, you communicate, I'm stable whether you stay or go. And that stability is intoxicating to someone who fears emotional chaos. This is why emotionally disciplined men are remembered. They don't argue for affection, they don't chase validation. They don't rush emotional milestones, they let connection unfold naturally, and that patience becomes magnetic. What not to do, even if it feels right. Do not push for labels, demand emotional explanations, try to fix her hesitation, withdraw to punish her distance, test her back out of insecurity. These behaviors don't create desire, they confirm her fear. Remember, she's not hiding because she doesn't care. She's hiding because she does, and fear doesn't dissolve through pressure, it dissolves through proof. The moment she stops hiding, there will be a shift, not dramatic, not cinematic, subtle. She'll start asking deeper questions, she'll reference future moments casually. She'll linger after conversations end, and one day, without prompting, she'll say something real, not rehearsed, not forced, but honest, and it will only happen because you gave her the space to arrive there on her own terms. The deeper truth most men never hear: some of the strongest emotional bonds don't begin with mutual openness, they begin with one person being brave enough to feel, and another being wise enough to wait. She isn't testing you to manipulate you, she's testing to see if you're different, if you're emotionally safe, if you'll stay centered when things feel uncertain, and if you pass those tests, not consciously, but consistently, her fear fades. And the love she's been restraining becomes something she finally allows herself to experience. Final reflection before we continue: I know this isn't easy. When you care about someone, you want clarity, you want reassurance, you want honesty, but sometimes the most powerful move is restraint. Sometimes silence communicates more security than words ever could, and sometimes love doesn't arrive loudly, sometimes it watches quietly, waiting to see if it's safe. In the final part, I'll show you how men accidentally undo everything at the last moment, and how to transition this dynamic into a deeper connection without ever forcing a confession. There's one last mistake men make at this stage, and it usually happens right when things are finally going well. She starts opening up more, she initiates contact, her presence feels warmer, more consistent, and the man, feeling progress, changes his behavior. He becomes slightly more intense, slightly more eager, slightly more emotionally available than before. It feels logical, but to her nervous system, it feels like pressure returning, and that's how men undo weeks, sometimes months, of silent trust building. Why pulling her forward too fast pushes her back? When a woman has spent weeks or months protecting her emotions, her sense of safety is fragile. She didn't open up because you asked, she opened up because she felt secure. The moment that security feels conditional, like she now owes emotional consistency, her defenses reawaken. That's why Stoic control matters most after progress begins, not before. You don't escalate intensity just because she does, you mirror calmly, you let her pace set the rhythm, without surrendering your composure. This isn't emotional withdrawal, it's emotional leadership. How to deepen the connection without forcing it: here's what actually strengthens the bond. Stay predictable in your behavior, keep your emotional tone steady, remain warm without becoming consuming, respond, not react, to emotional shifts. When she shares something personal, you don't interrogate it, you acknowledge it. That makes sense. I appreciate you telling me that. Then you stop, no analysis, no pressure. You show her that vulnerability doesn't create expectation. That's when trust stabilizes, the moment love becomes voluntary. Eventually, something shifts internally for her. She realizes she's no longer guarding herself around you. She notices she doesn't rehearse messages, she doesn't monitor reactions, she doesn't fear emotional exposure, and that realization leads to a powerful internal question: why do I feel safe here? That's the moment love becomes conscious, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Why silence and presence are stronger than confessions. Most men chase emotional clarity, they want certainty, but certainty gained through pressure is fragile, certainty that grows through consistency is permanent. This is why the strongest connections feel effortless, not because they were easy, but because neither person was forced to abandon themselves to sustain them. The Stoic perspective on hidden love: Stoicism teaches emotional mastery, not emotional suppression. You don't ignore feelings, you govern them, and when you do, you become the calm center others gravitate toward. A woman who hides love isn't weak, she's cautious, and a man who can remain grounded in that space becomes rare. Final thoughts: if you've recognized these signs in her, understand this: she's not playing games. She's not confused, she's not indifferent, she's protecting something valuable, and how you respond determines whether she continues protecting it, or finally shares it. Don't rush her honesty, don't pressure her openness, don't demand emotional proof. Just be steady, be patient, be the kind of man whose presence lowers defenses instead of triggering them, because real love doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it watches, sometimes it waits, quietly, hoping you're safe enough to trust. If this resonated with you, comment "thank you" below so I know you stayed until the end, and remember, the strongest bonds aren't built by those who chase feelings. They're built by those who know how to hold them.